And we're live. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Whitfield Report. I am your host, Sam Whitfield, broadcasting live from NGC Studios here in Southern Florida, and unfortunately starting the show a bit late tonight. Again, technical difficulties. I always try and, take care of these before the 8 o'clock time slot. But, alas, sometimes these show up. And, to be honest, folks, I'm thinking of getting a new computer, or rather switching back to, doing this from my MacBook and, just plugging the Yeti into that from now on. Because, this computer I'm using right now, it's an older Mac desktop from 2011, and it works pretty well, but, I have had some technical difficulties with it in terms of broadcasting the show on and off for a couple of months now, so I don't know. It may be time to replace it, it may not be. I may just need to get in there and do some fine-tuning, or whatever we may call it. Regardless, though, I appreciate you tuning into the show if you are, in fact, able to catch this live. If not, I appreciate you watching the show on YouTube Archive, or listening to the audio podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever else you get your podcasts. I really appreciate that. Contact info as usual. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @SamDuper_NDC. Hashtag Whitfield Report. Follow me on Gab at Sam Whitfield. TheSamWhitfield.com is my website. And Facebook.com/Whitfield Report is the Facebook page. And I don't have a YouTube URL yet, but I'm hopefully going to get one once the channel hits 100 subscribers. So please, if you do use YouTube, please hit that subscribe button and please hit that bell. It really helps me out. But, with that all being said, this is part 3 of our election, of our midterm post show here on the Whitfield Report. And, to be honest, folks, I guess I've kind of made a little trilogy out of this, so to speak. It's the first, overarching, I guess, story arc of the Whitfield Report, if you can call it that. A 3-part podcast in total regarding the 2018 midterms election. And all I can say is, folks, thank God it is over. Thank God. It is about time. And the one good thing about starting this show, I will say, is I get to break the news to some of you. Breaking from FoxNews.com, breaking from CNN, which makes it a whole lot sweeter. No, I don't want your stupid newsletter, CNN. Oh, this is beautiful, folks. Andrew Gillum concedes Florida governor race to Ron DeSantis. Again. Now, the CNN headline doesn't say again, but I just added that in there for, effect, because I think it is appropriate. So, let me read a little bit of this article to you from CNN, and then I'll comment on it, because I'm thrilled. I might not be as energetic with the Kavanaugh hearing and whatnot, but I am thrilled. Genuinely. Alright. Andrew Gillum, the gubernatorial candidate in Florida, conceded to his Republican opponent, former Representative Ron DeSantis, on Saturday, ending a protracted fight that saw the Tallahassee mayor take back his Election Day concession during a statewide recount. The concession ended Gillum's first bid for statewide office in Florida, but the run, despite his loss, vaulted the 39-year-old politicians into the upper echelons of Democratic politics. Quote, Representative Jai and I want to take a moment to congratulate Mr. DeSantis on becoming the next governor of the great state of Florida, Gillum said in a Facebook video in which he appeared alongside his wife. This has been the journey of our lives. DeSantis responded to Gillum's concession with a call for unity. This was a long-fought campaign, he wrote on Twitter. Now it's time to bring Florida to governor. The reality, however, is that the race between DeSantis and Gillum was anything but unifying. The contest was a heated affair that regularly reflected the broader national tensions over race and class in the Trump era. Well, that's editorial from CNN. Okay. Now we're getting into the, editorial from CNN. Basically, they're saying that, DeSantis was part of, Trump's, new right/alt-right tactics to, gin up fear, all of that. But needless to say, I do find it ironically sweet in a way that, CNN was one of the first, outlets to, report that Gillum is conceding and that DeSantis is our governor. And like I said, I'm thrilled by this, folks. But at the same time, I'm really not all that surprised. I'm really not. There should have never been a recount for the governor's race. I said that back during the part 2 post show when Maris, or I guess Cody as we're now calling him, last week, and when we had Mayor on the show, I said that the gubernatorial race should have never been contested. It was stupid. But Gillum, tried to retract his concession and, truth be told, I mean, the Dems really did try and pull out all the stops. Gillum was also blocking citizen journalists like Laura Loomer from interviewing him when he was, going to check on poll recount votes, I guess. Florida has had a massive problem for a while now with these auto recounts, and ever since 2000, I guess the state has had to do this. But strangely enough, it always seems to be the same counties that always need to recount their election results for governor and whatnot. And I wonder why that is. Most of them are Democrat-led counties, if I do say so. From what I've noticed. So, DeSantis is governor, and, thank God. I've gone over in past episodes why Gillum would have been a disaster. As I've said before, he was a big proponent of a state income tax here, not just a state income tax, but a huge one at that. He's praised Jerry Brown for the quote-unquote great job he's done with California, which is laughable considering that, Jerry Brown, has taxed the bejesus out of California, and now the whole entire state is on fire. Literally. I'm sorry, I shouldn't make a joke about that, but it's it's too good to pass up that pun. So the Republicans pretty much won Florida. Georgia's race, from what I'm hearing, seems to pretty much be recounted, and again, the Republicans came out on top. So what does this mean for the state of politics? Well, the good thing is that the electoral system, at least in my mind, still seems to be working as intended. When procedures are followed and rules are followed and things operate as they are supposed to, we get good election results. The Dems have been trying, they're now proposing that we extend Election Day into a season. I've actually heard this from a couple of liberal bloggers, and the reason why is obviously they're butthurt that they keep losing. Now, the reason why they keep losing, and I've covered this before, is because over the past 10 years, they've gone from the party of the working class, if you could call them that, to now being the party of outraged minority fringe groups. Notice I didn't say like minority, races or people, but fringe minority groups. Like, Antifa and Occupy and the social justice warriors. That is who the left has become, basically. They've become the party of quote-unquote social justice warriors and other radicals. The American people, even on the left, who consider themselves more classical liberals, can't even stand them anymore. Hell, classical liberals like Dave Rubin are now considered too right-wing for most DNC party officials now. So they keep losing to Republicans because now Republicans have done a good job of bringing more people into the fold. And, with the rise of Trump, they still, the left still doesn't get what the rise of Trump is out either. Even after roughly 3 years of us basically telling them what it's about, they keep misinterpreting it. When they hear the word nationalist, they automatically think of racial nationalism, white nationalism. They don't get the notion of nationalism and patriotism as pride in your country, wanting to make things great, allowing people from all walks of life to come into your country so long as they obey the laws and principles that make said country great. The left doesn't understand any of that, which is what our country was built on. This country was built on the idea of, of life, liberty, and property, which is how the Founding Fathers intended it, and the pursuit of happiness. That was one of the things that the Declaration of Independence talked about, was the choice for the pursuit of happiness, and how it was up to each man to forge their own path towards the pursuit of happiness. And these social justice warriors do not understand that. They keep thinking, for whatever reason, that, I'm oppressed. I belong to a minority group that is severely underrepresented, and we need to turn all those people who are libertarians and slightly right-wing, they're our enemies, they're Nazis, they're horrible people. They hyperbolize us too into things that we're not. And people are sick of the left. They're sick of identity politics. They're sick of this whole notion of political correctness. That is what keeps the left from winning elections. And from truly reforming and making actual progress, despite the fact that they keep claiming that they are the party of progress. So, what should the Dems learn from this big loss during the midterms? They should learn that they need to moderate their views, come back from the far left, and maybe start to discuss more things like, economics, the working class. They need to reform and revise, what groups they ally themselves. Maybe they should ally themselves with, people who advocate beating, conservatives, or advocate, trying to intimidate conservative leaders at restaurants, or conservative commentators in their homes, in the case of Tucker Carlson. Seriously, the left has to moderate, otherwise they'll keep becoming irreverent. It's funny, the left is now in the same boat that the Republicans were in, 10 years ago after losing to Obama. And yet the difference is, I don't think they're going to learn, because they've been so ideologically set for the last, 40 years roughly, that they're not going to be willing to make, any ideological changes. Now, with that being said, more breaking news, and let me pull the article upon this. But as some of you may have heard, and as some of you tweeted at me that you would like me to cover this, Hillary Clinton may in fact be running in 2020. And, if you're anything like me, your first reaction was pretty similar to Michael Scott from The Office, with that, please, God, no. And, but it is possible. I guess she's looking into it now. And there's even big debate on this. I guess according to Politico, this is a week old now, but about a week ago, Politico reported that a former Clinton advisor said that Hillary will win in 2020. So let me read a quick excerpt of this to you. Two-time Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton will mount a third bid for the White House. Longtime Clinton advisor Mark Penn wrote in an op-ed published Sunday by the Wall Street Journal, predicting that the former First Lady and Secretary of State is running a Hillary 4.0 campaign for 2020. In the Journal op-ed, Penn, an advisor to the Clintons and pollster from 1995 to 1998, and former New York City politician Andrew Stein, wrote that in the 2020 run, Clinton would reinvent herself as a liberal firebrand. The quote, the twice failed presidential candidate would not let a little thing like two stunning defeats to stand in the way of her climb to the White House, they wrote. Now see, folks, that right there, and all, let me read that quote to you again. The twice failed presidential candidate would not let a little thing like two stunning defeats stand in the way of her claim to the White House. Now, those are her cronies writing this in the Wall Street Journal. That languaging right there, ladies and gentlemen, should tell you what a bad idea this is. Okay? They're basically saying that Hillary has a claim to the White House. I'm not sure I've heard of any other politician, at least in my lifetime, saying that they have an outright claim to the White House. Can you? You know, as much as I may have disliked Obama, he never said that he, had a outright claim to the White House. That it was betrothed to him. That language from, Hillary's advisors, it makes it seem like she's owed the keys to the White House because she's a Clinton. And as I've said before in the past about Hillary, the reason why she keeps running for president and, failing is because I think she keeps running for the White House and she keeps expecting to get it because she put up with Bill's shenanigans for so long. I've said this before, but I'll say again. She feels entitled to run for the White House because she put up with Bill's shenanigans and embarrassments and stood by her man when she probably should have divorced him. When any sane woman would have. I mean, if I were Hillary Clinton and, my husband were accused of rape, not once, not twice, but multiple times by multiple women, I would not stick around. And I don't know of any woman who would. So, something tells me, and something that's always told me, that the fact that Clinton, decided to stick around in that marriage, that tells me that a deal was made between her and Bill, and maybe some of their political handlers way back when in the 90s. Once Lewinsky blew. I don't know. But again, folks, I can't get past the, I can't get past her two cronies writing in the Wall Street Journal that she has a claim to the White House. If that doesn't show, that the Clinton monarchy is what's wrong with America, I don't know what is. And that's just the second paragraph of this article, folks. It goes on. Although she has routinely shot down talk of a 2020 run, Clinton said in an interview earlier this month that, quote, "I'd like to be president," after answering no, whether she wanted to run for president again. So, in other words, and this got a bit of play over this past week too, she basically was asked, will you run for president? And she said no, but I'd like to be president. So again, we should just betroth her the office because she wants to be president. Okay, Hillary, that's not really how it works. But I'm sure if the Democrats got their way, they would absolutely be willing to set this up for you. Another longtime Clinton aide, Philip Raines, told Politico last month that he thought it was odd Clinton's name wasn't in the mix of potential 2020 contenders. Though he said more recently that he couldn't think of a Democrat who would be able to successfully challenge President Donald Trump. Yeah, you're damn right. I mean, between Liz Warren and Ocasio-Cortez, or I think I finally got her name right, and Bernie, who is going to run against Trump? I mean, I don't want to jinx us and say that no one could beat Trump, because I certainly think that there are a couple possibilities, especially with the way he shoots himself in the foot sometimes. But still, the fact that the Dems are scrambling and that they're admitting that they can't think of anyone at this time, that's scary to see. That must be scary for them at the least. And the fact that this Phil Raines guy is panicking that Hillary hasn't declared yet says a lot. Clinton's surprise loss to President Donald Trump in 2016 sent shockwaves through the Democrat Party. But Penn and Stein write that the 2 years of hand-wringing and reflection, as well as some denial on Clinton's part, will strengthen Clinton in the best position to take Trump on again. Okay, how is denying that you lost to Trump in the first place, how would that help Clinton at all? I'm curious. That's basically like saying, if you're an alcoholic, denying that you're an alcoholic will somehow help you become sober again, just by denying it. Okay, that's essentially what the Clinton advisors are saying here. She should just deny that she lost to Trump the first time, and she'll automatically win against Trump. Oh yeah, and we were just talking about Bill. So welcome Brian and Gabe, but you're a bit late. That penis comment would have been hilarious. A minute ago. When talking about Slick Willie. But anyway. Though the duo did not outline for how Clinton will improve her dismal standing in the Midwest or move past the scandals that plagued her in 2016, they wrote that voters should expect Hillary Clinton 4.0 to come out swinging, relegating former President Barack Obama and Bill Clinton to fundraising roles. She has decisively to win the Iowa caucus goers who have never warmed up to her. They will now see her as strong, partisan, left-leaning, and all-Democrat. The one with the guts, experience, and steely-eyed determination to defeat Mr. Trump. Penn and Stein offer a scathing criticism of other expected Democrat candidates, writing that Clinton will not allow this humiliating loss at the hands of an amateur to end the story of her career, and that while another run would likely infuriate Senate Democrats looking to take control of the party with the 2021, the two authors wrote that the White House hopefuls in the chamber fumbled moments like the Kavanaugh confirmation as if they were bumbling amateurs. You can expect her to run for president once again. Maybe not at first, when the legion of some Democrats make their announcements, but definitely by the time the primaries are in full swing, they predicted. News that Clinton might try to take on President Donald Trump again elicited cheers from the White House. Counselor to the President, Kellyanne Conway, on Sunday retweeted reporting on Penn and Stein's assertion, adding, "Dear God, please yes." Now, okay, be careful here, folks, because I know what a lot of you guys are, I know a lot of you guys on the right are thinking, because I thought this way too at first, when I first heard this notion. Right? Your first immediate reaction to hearing that Hillary Clinton is going to potentially run for president again is, ha 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 ha. She's going to run again? This will be easy for us. Right? That's everyone's first reaction to, hearing that Clinton may run again. And trust me, it's a very easy one to have. But mark my words, I do think that Hillary Clinton could win against Trump in 2020. Not necessarily, through ethical means, but we know now that she tried to steal the election. Newsweek had entire issues published ahead of time, saying Madam President. It was the Dewey defeats Truman moment all over again, folks. Only instead of just one headline, Newsweek published an entire issue. That's what happened in 2016, with the whole Madam President thing. But, can Hillary Clinton win? Honestly, no, of course not. Does anyone want her to run for president? No. Like I said, even most classical liberals, classical liberals especially, hate Hillary Clinton, which is no surprise, since she basically stands against everything classical liberals stand for. But then again, I think there were a lot of Democrats who did not want her to run, anyway. And, in 2016, and yet she did. She stole the primaries from, Bernie. And, as much as I hate to say it, Bernie might have actually won against Donald Trump. A big part of the reason why I think so many why so many Democrats actually ended up voting for Trump in 2016 is because that's how much they hated Hillary Clinton. In fact, I know that was the case for many of my friends who actually are Democrats. A lot of them actually ended up voting for Trump. Why? Because Hillary Clinton is just that despicable. And yet, she could win by stealing the election because that was her plan the first time. They were going to try and rig the voting machines and whatnot. And yet that didn't turn out as planned. Even with trying to rig the election in her favor, folks, she lost. And and then she tried to turn that story around on Trump, and that's where you got the whole Russia collusion narrative. Okay, that's how that whole thing goes. So, before you guys all chuckle that she's never going to win, she has the machine, and she has the, I wouldn't say she has the cojones to do it, but I would say she has the dirty she has the dirty tricks to win, at the very least. So at this point we're still 2 years out. It's it's too early to say for sure that she will win, but I think if we do see her win, if we do see her run, in 2020, we should not rest on our laurels and think automatic win, because that certainly will not be the case at all. Okay, and with that in mind, folks, next story. This is one I've wanted to. This is another kind of breaking news story from earlier this evening. As many of you know, comic book legend Stan Lee passed away earlier this week at the age of 95. I actually did a tribute show to Stan Lee on Tuesday because I'm a huge comic book fan, and I spent about 35 minutes or so explaining my past and how I came to learn about comics and become a fanboy when I was very young, and how I still love comic books today, and how Stan Lee was a huge influence. So if you haven't heard that show, it's from Tuesday's podcast. It's under the bonus episode category if you have Apple Podcasts or Pocket Casts. I believe they actually show the bonus episode tags on that one. And even though it's an audio-only podcast, I will be uploading that one to YouTube as well. But, all that aside, there is a breaking story that I want to share with you. I actually find this a bit hilarious because, as most of you know, I hate Bill Maher almost as much as I love Stan Lee. Okay, I adored Stan Lee, and yeah, I detest Bill Maher. So this was, actually highly appropriate that this happened. I would say it was karma. I don't usually believe in karma, but if there was ever evidence of karma, this would be it. Headline from comicbook.com. This is just too good, folks. You can't make this up. Comic book industry reacts to Bill Maher dissing Stan Lee in comic books. And this was just earlier tonight, folks. Television personality Bill Maher penned an op-ed on his blog railing against the comic book industry in the wake of former Marvel Comics publisher Stan Lee passing away. Maher dropped lines like, quote, "I don't think it's a huge stretch to suggest that Donald Trump could only get elected in a country that thinks that comic books are important," along with mocking fans who were mourning the loss of the beloved comic creator. Quote, "But then, 20 years or so ago, something happened. Adults decided they didn't have to give up kid stuff," Maher ranted. "Instead, they pretended comic books were actually sophisticated literature. And because America has over 4,500 colleges, which means we need more professors than we have smart people, some dumb people got to be professors by writing theses like otherness and heterodoxy in the Silver Surfer." End quote. Naturally, several individuals in the comic book industry took to social media to share their response to Maher's post. Keep scrolling to see the various responses from comic book creators. So this is hilarious. I want to read a couple of these out for you. Bill Maher, quote, "I don't think it's a huge stretch to suggest that Donald Trump could only get elected in a country that thinks that comic books are important. What a nasty thing to say in connection with Stan Lee's death. Okay. And, there were more bigotry and racism are among the deadliest social ills plaguing the world today. And then there's like a screen cap of one of Stan's, let's see, soapboxes, which I can't read. Okay. Slide 3, they can't be halted with a punch, and the snoot oars up from a ray gun.
Did you break a beer bottle?
No. Hold on, folks. Yeah, sorry, folks. That was a brief interruption there. Anyway, as I was saying, more criticism of Stan Lee from Bill Maher. Basically, Maher has shot themselves Maher had shot himself in the foot, by doing this yet again. And, it is genuinely hilarious to watch him do this. So, he's getting his, no one really likes him anymore. And, this tweet has to be the best. I have no idea about what Bill Maher said about Stan Lee. Bill Maher is an unremarkable piece of shit. That's all there's worth saying about Bill Maher. Oh boy, do I agree with that one. Okay, Bill Maher dismisses Stan Lee, comic books in their relevance, much the same way people dismiss Lenny Bruce and stand-up comedy. This just keeps getting better and better, okay? Yep. So, folks, what else can I say? Bill Maher just, keeps proving himself to be, extremely unlikable. I will give the man credit where credit is due. He is right on radical Islam and whatnot, but that's pretty much all he's right about at this point. So, boy, what a news week we've been in, ladies and gentlemen. But anyway. So that'll just about do it for this week's show. As I, mentioned at the beginning, thank God we're done with election season. It's about time. And, that'll about do it for tonight's show. Next week, I won't be doing a Thursday show because it's Thanksgiving, but I will have something pre-recorded to air on Thursday. If you're interested, I'm going to try recording a few of these, kind of just to see how it goes. But anyway, folks, that'll do it for tonight's show. From all of us here at NGC1, have a good night, God bless, and God save this great nation, and thank you for watching the Whitfield Report.